Have we got a treat for you today? Behind me here is one of the most exciting boats we have tested all year. This is the Viggo C10. Now, for those of you who don't know the Viggo brand, they are a Swedish company who specialise in building high-performance aluminium boats. And the reason they choose aluminium is because it's extremely light, it's extremely tough, it's extremely efficient, and let's face it, it's also very fast. Now, if we look at the back here, you can see it's powered by a pair of 450 horsepower Mercury racing outboards. You can now get up to 500 horsepower on a boat that weighs just 4.5 tons. So you've got 1,000 horsepower on a 4.5 ton boat. It measures just over 36 feet long, and it looks, well, you can make your mind up about that. It looks like the absolute business. Now, they really know what they're doing at Viggo. If you look at the shape of this hull, it is a very long, very slender hull. It's got a very fine entry point that is designed to cut through the waves. You can see we've got spray rails under here that provide a bit of extra lift and throw the water out, but it's also flared at the bow so that when you do go into the wave, you've got enough buoyancy to make sure that you don't stuff it. Now, everything about this boat is designed to be immensely tough and practical, but they also want it to be used. So although it's an extremely quick boat, it should do somewhere between 60 and 70 knots, depending on which engines you choose. It's also designed to be used all year round and used hard. So everything about it is incredibly solid, sensible and practical. I mean, look at those cleats. They are made themselves. You can see it's all welded on. It's just incredibly tough, no-nonsense design. Now, the whole boat is designed to be unsinkable. There are sealed areas within the hull that are full of buoyancy bags that will stop it sinking, even if you do hole it. Being a Scandinavian boat, they tend to have a stern anchor. You don't have to have that, but that's how they tend to moor them in Scandinavia. They put the bow onto an island and put out the stern anchor. On this side, we have got a small bathing ladder that tucks away under there. Look at this. Even here, you see this deflector here is designed partly to prevent spray and noise getting through, and you can see we've actually got sound deadening material here, so when you're running at speed, that will keep the noise down. And even things like these access hatches, on a lot of boats you'd see a plastic hatch there. It is properly bolted down aluminium. Now, we've got lots of storage capacity all around here. You can have another fold down bench there if you want to, but it's very basic, simple seating. We've got storage lockers under either side. Now, this is another clever feature. We've got two fuel tanks on board this boat, a forward tank and an aft tank. And the reason for that is to maintain the balance. If you want to keep a bit more weight in the bow, you can choose to draw from the forward tank. If you want to even up the balance, you can draw from the aft tank. And again, all heavy-duty manual switches, no electronic buttons. The other thing I wanted to show you whilst we're down here is the trim system that this boat uses. Now, it's extremely important to be able to get the trim right on a boat like this. And in order to keep the bow planted, cutting through the waves as efficiently as possible, it's got these enormous trim tabs. Look at the size of those outside trim tabs. That helps keep it balanced in a cross sea, but you've also got two extra trim tabs right down there. You might just be able to see them. And they're special central trim tabs that are used just to really plant that bow down in a head sea and really get it cutting through the waves. We've got more storage over on this side. Manual bilge pumps where you need them. Again, look at that, just really simple. There's a water separator in there, manual bilge pump. There's a big storage facility under here. That whole thing will lift out if you want to, so you can get access into the bilges. But again, all aluminium, soft touch. And that just closes down under there. and then come through. Actually, before we come through, let's just have a quick look on top here, because this is obviously a sort of adventure style boat. It is a wheelhouse cabin version, but you can put whatever you want up here if you want racks for paddle boards or anything. But you can see we've got lots of hatches letting air into the cabin. We've got solar panels to keep the battery charged. These are little solar powered extractors that help get any sort of damp or moist air out from inside. And this is a neat touch too. Check this out. If you can see, this is actually an aerofoil section, and that is designed when you're running at speed that the air will come in the top here, be deflected down, and again that stream of air coming down here is designed to keep spray off these rear windows. It's seriously cleverly thought through stuff, designed to be robust and usable all year round. Now the cabin, again, same no nonsense thinking. All the seats face forward. You can see we've got a row of suspension seats right forward, but even these seats here, they're all designed to face forward. But if you want to have a bit more practicality, a bit more sociability once you're at anchor, you can push these in and that will fold down. This one here folds up. There are infill cushions. You can have a table down here and make a nice sociable table, but the reason this comes up and this one here is you can fill this whole area in. These backrests fold down, as I have here. Then there's an infill in the middle, and you get a huge 7 foot by probably about 5 foot bed. So you can sleep here if you want to, but equally it means all the seats can face forward when you're really going for it. Now, this is the business end of the boat, and just look at the aluminium welding down here. It's just so solid, so immense. There's no kind of compromises to comfort or luxury. It's all about no nonsense, rugged, robust design. We've got these 2 suspension seats here. You can see X-Craft. I don't know, they're probably a bit too rigid for me to demonstrate, but once you're running along, they will take a lot of the bouncing out. Grab handles everywhere you look. And in fact, this, I'm told, is elk leather. I mean, only in Sweden would you manage to get your leather from an elk. We've got the hatches overhead. There are little blinds everywhere. You can see there are poppers all the way around here. So if you do make this up as a bed, you can have this as a relatively dark, quiet zone. And then the driving station. This is where it gets really serious. Now, this is obviously a suspension seat too. You've got full adjustment fore and aft, and the backrest. Look at that. I mean, it's like a bucket seat from a supercar, not a boat. And then check out this helm station. Again, all really chunky manual switchgear. These are all the bilge switches. They're obviously automatic too, but if you want to do them manually, look at that. I mean, it's just so solid. No messing about there. You have got access, that's just switching on the batteries by remote. They're all accessible through the floor too. Now these are those trim tabs I mentioned. So these are the center tabs that really help plant that bow in a really choppy head sea. And you don't have to worry about precise settings. You literally just press up, mid or down, and that's like a magic button that will just plant the bow and get you cutting through the waves if it really does get choppy. It's also got the standard trims. You've obviously got the engine trim controls here, and you've got an active trim system. Those are for the engines too. Now the trim tabs, the normal trim tabs, are actually controlled from these 2 stalks here. And the idea of that is you don't want to take your hands off the wheel. So you've got the left-hand trim tab here, the right-hand or starboard trim tab there, and you can just maneuver them up or down without taking your hands off the wheel. Really sensible. And this third one up here is for the engine trim too. So you don't have to use these buttons. You can if you want to, or you can do the automatic, or you can control them manually from this switch here. So everything right to hand. You never have to move from your seat. You can just plant yourself here and got full control without taking your hands off the wheel. Standard Mercury throttles, but nicely put out on a little plinth here so that they're exactly where you need them when you're sat down. Obviously, wraparound windows all the way around. Terrific view. You've got wipers for all of those. No nonsense buttons. We've got the twin Simrad screens. You can obviously choose how you want those set up, or if you want a different brand. And then you've got bow and stern thrusters, so you can put it onto the pontoon very easily. Now here we have got a fridge. It's one of the few concessions to luxury or comfort. We've got a fridge in there. That is access to some of the electronics and so on. And then this is rather brilliant. Check this door out. It all just swings up on gas struts and gives you access out into the bow area. Now, lots of storage everywhere you look under here. Obviously, we've got ropes and so on. Let me see if I can latch that down. A little bit tricky, one-handed. We've got little pull cords to open these. Lots more storage areas. That is, in fact, the diesel tank for the diesel heater. Again, more storage under this one, and indeed under these seats. Now here is that infill I told you about. It's a metal infill that helps create the bed inside. You've also got a table leg if you want to use that out here or inside. You can create a nice little dining area. And then under here, if I pop that up, you can apparently have a small heads compartment fitted in here. So you just have the toilet is sunk down in that area there. And then as this pops up, a tent appears around the side. So you've got a kind of canvas fabric side and you get a very basic heads compartment. But apparently they don't even bother with that in Sweden most of the time. This is about serious boating, not about comforts and luxuries. We've got more storage either side and there for fenders and so on. And then they have fitted a anchor locker to this one. Again, they mostly use a stern anchor in Sweden, but you can fit a normal windlass up front here too. So, the hull itself, it is a 24-degree dead rise. It's incredibly long, thin, robust. You can see the quality of some of the metalwork here. And now, I can't wait to go and drive it.